Boom, 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 boom. Now tell me what you gonna do when it ain't nowhere to run. When judgment comes for you. When judgment comes for you. Tell me what you gonna do when it ain't nowhere to hide. When judgment comes for you. 'Cause it's gonna come for you.
Making it for water, easy, see some for Charlie. Little boo for God's got him. And I'm gonna miss everybody out of rolling flows like I ain't looked at a while. Like I'm playing for dust and they play too deep for beats. Little legs I can't to be. Tell me your feature deceased, would it please? Marry me by my grand way. You can't go follow
God bless you, working on a plan to heaven.
Backbone Wrestling Network. Welcome back to the CrosUp, your weekly look back at the week that was in professional wrestling. This week I'll be running through the results and happenings from Raw May the 4th to Fairway to Hell on May the 9th, as well as the Backlash pay-per-view, or PLE. We're going to start with Raw. We got Roman Reigns arriving and starts walking towards the ring rather quickly. Adam Pearce is following behind, trying to get his attention. He finally stops him and says that Jacob Fatu is not here yet, meaning the contract signing has to wait. Since Reigns isn't going to the ring at the moment, he can pause, and he sees Seth Rollins is face-to-face with him. He says Roman is in his way. Rollins heads out to the ring, but Braun Breaker jumps him from behind. Breaker drops Rollins onto the barricade and sends him into the steps until security and referees break things up. Breaker seems to go away for a little bit, but he comes back and gets back inside and spears Rollins. And the fans chant for him to do it one more time, but being the heel that he is, he does not oblige. We then recap Roxanne Perez ignoring Finn Balor's warnings about the Judgment Day last week and telling him to leave the clubhouse. Then go to the Judgment Day clubhouse, and Liv Morgan kind of talks to her about it, wants to know why Finn was here last week. Roxanne doesn't know why he was here, but Liv asks why she wasn't told about this. Why does she need to watch Netflix to know what is going on around here? Roxanne insists that she is loyal to the team, and Liv seems to believe it, though she does browbeat Roxanne a bit for seemingly just talking to Finn. Liv then leaves the clubhouse, and Roxanne seems kind of troubled by the whole situation. We then go to a Judgment Day match. JD McDonough defeats Finn Balor via pinfall. When the rest of the Judgment Day is ringside, they get involved. Roxanne even hits Finn with the bell hammer, and JD McDonough follows that with a running headbutt to get the win. We then have Seth Rollins in the back. He's pissed. He's ready for Backlash, where he will finish the job, destroying the Vision once and for all. We then have video of the Roman Reigns versus Jacob Fatu rivalry to this point, and what happened last week, especially with Fatu bringing back the Tonga Death Grip. Commentary actually explains the Tonga Death Grip and talk about Haku passing it down to Jacob, though it can only be used in certain circumstances. We then have the Vision. They make fun of Joe Hendry when Paul Heyman comes in. Heyman asks if Rollins is still breathing, and Logan Paul cuts Heyman off and threatens that he wants some of Joe Hendry and that he can take him out and end his career and all that kind of stuff. Heyman says no, because if Logan faces Hendry tonight, Logan Paul will be put in jail. Therefore, Austin Theory will take care of business tonight. We then get a tag team match. Ethan Page and Rusev defeat Penta and Javon Evans when Page hits Penta with a release fisherman suplex and gets the win. We then get Adam Pearce in the ring for a conversation. He has a contract with him. He talks about how much fun it was to work with a can't-miss prospect from NXT. That's what he's getting to do again, and we see a video of Sol Ruka and all that she accomplished in NXT. He brings out Sol. Pierce presents her with a contract, and she knows it is going to feel good to sign. Becky Lynch then comes out to interrupt, saying a very reliable source told her that this was her spot on the card tonight, and Sol is taking up her spot. Lynch talks about how she's the biggest star, a women's star in wrestling, according to Sports Illustrated and all that good stuff. We then Sol cuts her off and says not everything's about her. Sol says that Becky is everything everyone says she is, a crude, big-headed bitch. Sol even says that it's not me saying it, others say it, like Becky always does about saying that she's the greatest. Becky is incensed by this. Sol does sign the contract. Soul then says if Lynch ever interrupts her again, she'll snatch her soul. Lynch swings and hits Pierce by mistake, and then Soul hits a soul snatcher, though they don't quite connect like they need to, so it ends up looking kind of botchy and messy and stuff like that. But the implication is that the soul snatcher was hit. We then look back at Jacob Fatu smashing the MFTs on SmackDown. The Usos are on their way to see Roman Reigns, but stop to talk about how this is a family thing. Fatu is swimming in deep waters and swinging for the fences, but the bloodline has been drawn. He'll figure out what he's doing at Backlash. Joe Hendry then defeats Austin Theory via DQ. Following interference from Logan Paul. After the match, they continue to beat him down with the Street Profits running in for the save. Braun Breaker is then in to take the Profits out, but Seth Rollins is here to break up the Super Spear. Montez then hits a big dive over Seth Rollins' head and the ring post, and this actually allows Breaker to then Super Spear Rollins instead because it kind of distracts him for a little bit. We then go to the Judgment Day once again. The two ladies, are Raquel and Roxanne, are ready to win the women's tag team titles. Bayley and Lyra Valkyria then come in and say they want the shot instead, despite the fact that they've gotten shots in the past. But Liv Morgan instead makes fun of them as the Judgment Day kind of walks away. We then have the Oba Femi Open Challenge. It is seemingly answered by Akira Tozawa, but he is followed by his Alpha Academy compatriots. He goes face-to-face with Oba, and he thinks better of the idea, and he ends up giving the opportunity to Otis. Oba then defeats Otis via pinfall following the fall from Ray's powerbomb in a couple awesome feats of strength. Obviously, Otis is a very large fella, and Oba shows his strength off by doing some pretty awesome power attacks. We then have Seth Rollins. He isn't happy about being speared again, but the Street Profits aren't sure why they should trust him. Rollins says they're fighting the same fight, they'll stay out of each other's way. Joe Hendry seems to agree more with the Street Profits than Rollins. We then have a sit-down interview between it's just Asuka and Io Sky talking to each other before their match at Backlash. Sky says she has been avoiding this fight for years as Asuka is her mentor. Despite everything Asuka has done, Sky still respects her and never wanted it to come to this. Asuka has changed, though, and the old Asuka is gone. Asuka calls this disrespect and that she doesn't know this disrespectful version of Io Sky. That is Asuka's biggest disappointment, and she is done with Io, who will be cut out of her life at Backlash. Io then says she is ready for Asuka, and then Asuka missed Io in the face with the blue mist to blind her temporarily. We then look at the Creed brothers attacking El Grande Americano 2.0 last weekend at AAA. The original El Grande Americano and Los Hermanos Americanos, a.k.a. Bruno and Julio Credo. It might be Bruto, actually. I can't remember exactly. I have Bruno in my notes, but I think it might be Bruto and Julio Credo. Those are Los Hermanos Americanos. But they don't like how the OG Americano is treated in Mexico. They say they are friends with Chad Gable, who is most certainly still sidelined with an injury. We then have a battle of the Americanos against each other. The OG and Hermanos Americano, Julio and Bruto, like I said before, defeat 2.0 and Los Americanos, which is Rayo and Bravo. OG hits a diving headbutt on Rayo for the win. We then have John Cena. We get an announcement that John Cena will be at Backlash for a big announcement. We then got our main event segment, which is the contract signing between Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu. They are joined by Adam Pearce for the contract signing. Instead, they just sit there and stare at each other for a bit until Reigns says the "Acknowledge Me" catchphrase. That gets him a rather strong OTC chant, which Reigns says is the sound of love and respect. That respect was earned over the last 12 years, and Reigns was the one, that's the sound of love and respect. The respect has been earned over the last 12 years, and Reigns was the one holding the door open for Solo Sikoa, who ends up bringing in Jacob Fatu. Fatu got in because of Reigns, and he isn't standing for this lack of respect from him. Now Fatu is bringing in the Tongan Death Grip. That's the kind of thing you bring out when you're surrounded by 8 people at a bar at 3 a.m. You don't do that to your tribal chief. You don't do that to your family. Fatu says that that is where Reigns has it all wrong, because yes, he is desperate and he has no choice but to take Reigns' title. He's going to put a chokehold on the business and squeeze out every cent, just like this company has been doing to their family for decades. Fatu brings up his household, which has Roman cutting him off and signing. While Fatu talks about having 7 kids, Roman spent 12 years looking after the 170 kids in their family, taking care of several generations. They're the same blood, but in this ring Fatu is beneath him. Fatu jumps at him and tries the tongue and death grip, but gets knocked away. The belt shot misses, and Roman hammers away in the corner, but the Superman punch is countered by the tongue and death grip. Reigns' eyes are bug out, and he grabs Pierce, but Fatu choke slams Reigns onto the table. Reigns is then gasping for breath as Fatu signs, and the fans chant for Fatu to end the show. Pretty solid ending. Yet another Raw that ends with a segment instead of a match. So that has been a regular thing as of late. So maybe we'll get a main event match one day soon, but it is seemingly not happening quite yet. But as far as best match, I would go with the tag team match between like the Intercontinental title contenders and the champion, Paige and Rusev versus Penta and Evans. So that would be my best match for the night. We then go to NXT. Tony D'Angelo says he isn't waiting and charges at Tavion Heights for a quick brawl that is broken up. We then get Callie Armstrong defeating Jada Parker via pinfall following the Callie connection. We then get Tony D'Angelo again. He comes in to yell at Robert Stone, says he wants Tavion Heights tonight. We then get video of Jackson Drake versus Jasper Troy that was set up last week. We then go to the Birthright locker room. They are not happy with what happened last week. Finley comes in to say that they're not doing well. And William Regal, who is on the phone, says that he sent Charlie Dempsey back to the snake pit before they have a 6-man tag last week. The team seems ready, but knows that they need to get better to impress their mentors, obviously, in Fit Finley and William Regal. We then look back at Evil debuting last week from New Japan. He has a little video vignette. Says that the T-shirt with the symbol on it was a declaration or a proclamation to Tony D'Angelo that they will battle for the NXT title. We then learn that his name is Naraku, and he will debut next week on NXT in a match, I'm guessing. We then get Jackson Drake defeating Jasper Troy via pinfall when Michael Lockwood slams Jasper on the outside of the ring, and then is rolled back in, and Jackson Drake hits a 450 to get the win. We then look back at Tristan Angel's debut last week when he kind of popped up in the crowd and talked to Miles Bourne. We then get another one of these NXT Origins videos that we've gotten lately. We get one from Rhea Ripley here. We then have Zarya come out to cut a promo. She says it feels different around here, and for the first time, there is no one holding her back in the women's division. Now she has a clear path to the women's North American title. That title is what finally woke her up, and here is Tatum Paxley to interrupt as she is the champion. Paxley knows how the title came between Zarya and Sol Ruca, but that was nothing. That has nothing to do with her. Lizzie Rain, the new girl in the division, comes out to say that she was the talk of the town last week, and it's time to add some heavy metal to the title. Nikita Lyons, who she had defeated last week, comes out and takes credit for the fans caring about Lizzie Rain. Paxley will fight anyone and everyone whenever they want a shot, and a brawl is on, and Zarya ends up standing tall as she kind of takes all of them out. We then have the Vanity Project running into Evolve's Romeo Moreno, who isn't impressed with them. Noam Dar then returns randomly and wants to fight Jackson Drake next week. Michael Lockwood shows up to scare Dar a bit, but the match seems set. With the Vanity Project gone, Moreno talks about how huge of a fan he is of Noam Dar. We then have Cam Hendricks attack Tony D'Angelo on his way to the ring for his match. So we'll see what happens when we come back from commercial break. With that, we come back from commercial break, and Robert Stone grabs a headset and shakes up the card because D'Angelo was supposed to be in the next match, but he changes it to the main event. We end up having our mixed tag team match where the culling of Izzy Dame and Nico Vance defeat Mr. Iguana and Lola Vice when Dame hits a running knee on Lola for the win. We then get Tavion Heights. He still wants to face Tony D'Angelo, and Robert Stone comes in to say that it will be tonight's main event. Stone then goes over to Zarya, who wants a Women's North American title shot. She's not happy about being involved in a tag team match next week. Stone says that she has to do that if she ever wants to get a title shot. Jada Parker is then in the back. She is pissed about her loss earlier, and Natty Neidhart shows up to come in and say that Parker has gone soft and that she needs to find that edge again if she wants to make her way up the division. We then have Dark State represented by Cutler James and Osiris Griffin. They defeat Hank and Tank when they hit an assisted powerbomb on Hank for the win. We then get Kalani Jordan. She mocks Lola Vice and says she's coming for the title. Kendra Gray then comes in to say that she is coming after Kalani, and Kalani didn't seem worried about Kendall coming after her. We then have a new backstage correspondent named Emily Agard. She actually is sent out on assignment. She goes to meet Keanu Carver. He doesn't want to talk, so they put the camera down, which films them anyway. Carver says he's here to get paid, and comments don't help him take care of people counting on him. He's told Robert Stone to give him a chance or cut him. Carver knows that they are still filming, so she can ask one last question. Agard then asks Carver how he knew what the symbol of war was that was given to Tony D'Angelo a couple weeks ago. Carver says that he played college football, but he paid attention in class too. He has the exact quote of the thing about me that y'all don't know is I'm as smart as shit for real. So he obviously somewhat paid attention in class, despite the fact that I'm pretty sure the storyline part of it is he got kicked out. So we'll see what continues to happen with Carter, but he wants us to know that he's smart as shit for real. So we then get Shiloh Hill. He is walking around in the dark with some cameras on him. He's happy about beating Ricky Saints last week, but he also finds Tristan Angels to be a bit ridiculous and hopes that he's allergic to sheep. In the package earlier, we learned that Tristan Angels comes from a family of sheep herders, and that has been his family's kind of thing for his life, and he even participated in it a little bit. But he's now become a wrestler, and his character is that he's better than somebody that should have to deal with stuff like that. We then have Tony D'Angelo defeat Tavion Heights in the main event via pinfall with his big spinebuster. After the match, they shake hands, but the big guy from last week runs in again and lays them out. He introduces himself as Mason Rook and says that he has arrived. So we'll continue to see what Mason Rook can do. But he's made a pretty big impact the last 2 weeks. So we'll see what he can do going forward. The main event was the best match for me. I thought Tavion and Tony got some pretty good time there. Tavion shows what he can do, showed that he kind of belongs. And that he should be a force to be reckoned with going forward in NXT. And Tony established that he's still the top of the division. So I thought it was a really solid match. We'll then go to Dynamite. Tony Schiavone is in the ring to do a dedication to Ted Turner, who started the network that they are on and had a big hand in bringing wrestling to national television. Schiavone then brings out Sting, who talks about how great it was to have an all-in billionaire who loved wrestling. Back in the day, a lot of people wanted to get rid of wrestling, but Ted Turner would tell the wrestlers to keep doing what they were doing because he had deep pockets. He and Darby Allin burned this place up for 3.5 years, and he's glad to see Darby defending the title tonight. Schiavone then talks about how the TNT and TBS titles have plates on them honoring where Turner started wrestling in Atlanta. So pretty good and nice little segment for Ted Turner, who had passed away the previous day, I want to say. So good to see them recognize. Obviously, I don't know that he's been involved in TBS or TNT or any of that stuff for the last since WCW shut down pretty much. So But obviously he was a big part of, like Tony said, WCW being on it all those years. So good little tribute to start the show. We then have Jon Moxley defeat Juice Robinson via submission with the Bulldog choke. We then see Will Ospreay training with the Death Riders, and Moxley says this is death ground, as in the ground from which he can never escape. He says if his neck doesn't get stronger, he won't be able to get cleared, and he won't be able to be the Will Ospreay that he can be going forward. He says, of course, this is hard, and then he shoves the cameras away, kind of like he did last week, because he doesn't want them to be there anymore. We then have Orange Cassidy defeat Dax Harwood via pinfall when he reverses a move into an inside cradle. This earns 2 of the members of the conglomeration a tag team title shot. So this result honestly went the exact opposite of the way that I thought it would have gone. And then after the match, everyone comes in and the good guys clean house. We then get video of Roosh, kind of the stuff that he's been doing lately. He's been doing a lot of squash matches, showing the devastation that he's been putting on some of these guys. We then go to last week. The man had jumped Chris Jericho. This week, Chris Jericho is in the back, but he wants to talk about the demand in front of the people. He comes out to the ring and says he's done with 3-on-1 beatdowns. Instead, he's going to demand that Ricochet come out here and face him man-to-man right now. The demand then comes out with Ricochet mocking Jericho, who says he can't hear over all the booing. We then have Ricochet as he is tired of this stuff and listening to these people in Charleston, North Carolina. Jericho points out that it's actually South Carolina, and brings up a challenge for Stadium Stampede at Double or Nothing, which is a match that quote unquote Jericho invented, which is not necessarily true. He's just not sure if Jericho can find 4 other partners because no one around here likes him. Jericho yells at him for getting the state wrong and is sure he can find someone. Otherwise, he'll just do it himself. The demand then beat him down. Jericho actually fights him off pretty well for just a little bit, but then he eventually gets beaten down. And then once again, the Hurt Syndicate come out to save Jericho. We then have Mina Shirakawa. She gives Harley Cameron a pep talk and even rips Harley Cameron's shirt open. Shirakawa then realizes that Harley wasn't wearing ring gear under it, and it is just a bra that is underneath, and she apologizes for doing so. And Harley Cameron doesn't seem to mind at all what just happened and is all fired up for their tag team match tonight. We then have Kazuchika Okada defeat Kevin Knight via pinfall following the Rainmaker. After the match, Okada says he is coming for the world title. We then have Andrade El Idolo. He gets a video kind of hyping him up again. He hasn't done much lately, so we'll see if he continues or if he starts to get another big push going forward. We then have Mike Bailey giving Kevin Knight a pep talk. Actually, before I move on, I said that Kazuchika Okada beat Kevin Knight. He beat Brian Keith. I must have read the name, further on in the results when I did that, and I had written the wrong name because Kevin Knight is in tonight's main event. So I actually fucked that up. I apologize. I will go back to Mike Bailey gives Kevin Knight a pep talk before tonight's world title shot, and Kevin Knight is ready to be a double champion as he's already the TNT champion. So I screwed that up. Okada beat Brian Keith. So I deeply apologize for doing that. Samoa Joe and the Ops, now with Anthony Bowens, want Will Ospreay on their team. He says either do that or get his fist instead. So Samoa Joe is threatening Ospreay that if he doesn't join the Ops, that he will feel the wrath of their attacks. We then have Hikaru Shida and Chris Statlander. They defeat Harley Cameron and Mina Shirakawa when Shida hits the Falcon Arrow on Harley. We then have Swerve Strickland. He wants power, and that means going after the most wanted, and that is Bandito. We get Bandito's response. He's with Brody King. He says he's not hard to find, and then Brody King threatens Swerve for coming after his friends. And then we get our main event that does have Kevin Knight in it, but Darby Allin is able to defeat Kevin Knight via pinfall following 2 coffin drops. And then after the match, Sting comes out to celebrate to end the show to kind of ring the night home. And the main event was the best match. I'm going to go out on a limb and say as long as Darby's going to have these long, extended bangers on TV, it is probably going to be the best match on the given show. So we then go straight from Dynamite to Collision. They did an hour of Collision on Wednesday, and then they did another hour on Saturday. We opened Collision with Sting helping Darby up after he retained the world title, kind of like I said, that ended Dynamite. Sting gives Kevin Knight a nod of respect before leaving, and then MJF comes out. Everyone is sick of seeing Darby with the title. It's been cute and all, but give him his rematch already. Darby Allin wants something on the line on the MJF side. MJF offers his scarf, even the Dynamite diamond ring, but that's not enough for Darby. MJF throws $1 million on the line, but Darby doesn't care about money. Allin says he wants what MJF went to Turkey to get, and that is MJF's hair, implying that MJF had a Turkish hair transplant at some point, so which I believe is probably true. But Darby wants MJF's hair on the line. He says MJF has until next week to sign the contract, or he is never getting the rematch. MJF can't bring himself to say anything and leaves. Okada then comes out. Okada, like I said earlier, requests that he gets a title shot next week, and Darby says, let's do it. We then have Will Ospreay. He is told that his neck is improving, and if his MRI this week looks good, he will be medically cleared. Ospreay won't really say what he's doing with the Death Riders, but it seems to be a means to an end to get healthy. We then have Speedball Mike Bailey defeat AR Fox via pinfall following the Ultimate Weapon. Willow Nightingale then issues a challenge, another open challenge. Pac wants a shot at Darby Allin as well, as he's beaten him before. If Allin is so good, prove Pac wrong and say yes. And you could consider that an invitation. They do end up taking on each other at the Fairway to Hell show. We then have Jamie Hayter defeat Sky Blue via pinfall following Haterade. The rest of the Triangle of Madness are in the crowd and don't seem to be worried about Sky Blue getting beat up, so Jamie Hayter beats her up some more. Don Callis then brags about his Don Callis family and all the gold that they're going to win. Konosuke Takeshita isn't happy about Okada wanting the world title and ignoring their upcoming match. On top of that, Andrade El Idolo wants the world title as well and leaves. Callis seems to get a tad annoyed, but insists the team is going to win any and all gold that they have their eyes on. We then have Roosh defeat Manny Lowe via pinfall following the horns. We then have Jack Perry. He is in his bus, and he gets out to climb a mountain for some unknown reason. We then have the Bang Bang Gang, which is Austin and Colton Gunn and Ace Austin, as well as the Young Bucks. They defeat the Death Riders, represented by Claudio, Yuta, and Garcia, and the War Dogs as well, Finley and Connors. So the Bang Bang Gang and the Young Bucks defeat the Death Riders and the War Dogs when Ace hits the fold on Yuta, and then the faces or the winners celebrate to end the show. Fox versus Speedball was definitely the best match of the night. AR Fox is an old favorite from the Linking Up Lucha podcast, and Speedball's always been one of my favorites since the days he was in Impact. So definitely an awesome match that you should check out. We'll move from there to Impact. And we open Impact with Eric Young defeating EC3 via pinfall in a no DQ match when Eric Young is able to hit a pile driver off the apron through a table and then again on a chair in the ring. So EC3 coming back in and taking a couple of, they didn't lose the first match per se, but it didn't really start either. And he loses his first match, so not starting off too hot. But we'll see where that continues to go from here. We then get Ariana Grace. She is with Stack. She isn't worried about tonight's title defense and doesn't know why she has to keep proving herself. We then have the System. They are ready for everything they have going tonight. They have a couple of tag matches to deal with, so they are ready to get after their opponents. We then have Elena Black. She comes out to cut a promo. She is the number one knockout. Everyone knows it. No matter who is coming out of tonight's main event title, she is coming for the gold. Ash by Elegance then comes out to say if Black is a business, then she is an empire. Indy Hartwell then comes out to call this a stupid argument, and Ash says that Hartwell sounds so poor. Elena Black leaves and doesn't want to deal with this anymore, and Ash says that Hartwell needs to let the real knockouts talk. Indy then laughs that off because everything about Ash is fake, and she is able to win a quick little brawl that breaks up between the two. We then have Daria Ray. She is on the phone, and here she is told that Santino Marella's flight was canceled, so she will be in charge tonight. We then have the System, represented by Brian Myers and Bear Bronson, defeat Casey Navarro and Nick Nemeth when Bronson hits the bear down on Casey Navarro. After the match, the rest of the System come out and want their match right now. So we see the other part of the System. They Eddie Edwards and Cedric Alexander. They get defeated by Moose and Leon Slater when Moose rolls Edwards up after some chaos happens on the outside of the ring. We then look back at the return of Broken Matt Hardy from last week. The Broken Hardys warn the Righteous that they have opened Pandora's box. This is a gateway to something much worse, and Jeff then sings a song about hurting the Righteous. We then have Mike Santana come out for a promo. Santana talks about his match with Rich Swann a few weeks ago and how they tore the house down. Now he wants his next challenger, and here is Daria Ray to say that Santana doesn't get to make that choice himself. Since Santino is not here, Daria makes a battle royal for next week, and that will crown a new number one contender, and Santana seems okay with that. We then have AJ Francis rant about Casey Navarro and say he wants a street fight next week. We then get Navarro's point of view. He yells about everything Francis has put him through, and is ready for the street fight if it gets made. And then we get a Knockouts title match. Lei Ying Lee becomes the new Knockouts champion, wins the title back from Ariana Grace following a spinning neckbreaker off the ropes. Lei Ying Lee celebrates afterwards, is very, very emotional about getting the title. But hang on, we go to the backstage, and Moose has been attacked, and that is the end of the show. That's how the show ends for the week. And speaking of Moose, him and Slater versus Edwards and Alexander was the best match on the show. Happy to see Ariana Grace not be the Knockouts champion anymore. I'm not sure Lei Ying Lee is the person I would have put the belt back on. I thought she was a pretty good transitional champion to get it to Ariana Grace in the first place, but that is not probably who I would have had to beat her to win it back. So we'll see who Lei Ying Lee. Obviously, Zia Brookside, it seems like a logical way to go, but we will see where they go with that. We then have SmackDown start out with an in memory of Ted Turner, so good to see that they acknowledge Ted Turner in the beginning of the show. Obviously, a big rival of Vince McMahon all those years, WCW versus WWE and all that stuff. So good to see that they recognize his importance in the wrestling industry. We then get a long recap of the Jacob Fatu versus Roman Reigns rivalry, and we start the show with Fatu. He comes out to cut a promo. He says tomorrow he's taking the title from Roman Reigns. Since they were kids, everyone has seen Reigns as the future, and Fatu as nothing. Everyone has had it in for him, but it's been to protect Roman. This brings out the Usos to interrupt, who say they aren't out here to change Fatu's mind. Jimmy understands that Fatu needs this, but what happens if he loses? Has he ever thought about that? Jay doesn't believe Fatu thinks like that, but Jay has been there. Tomorrow night, Fatu's family will be there to see him lose, and his wife and children will have to acknowledge the tribal chief. That doesn't work for Fatu because this isn't just a main event. This is about his family because they are going to see him win the title. And he says if the Usos try to interfere, he'll burn this whole place to the ground. We then look back at Gunther attacking Cody Rhodes last week. Nick Aldis doesn't like what Gunther has done. But here's Ricky Saints to interrupt, talk about how big of a star he is and how he went from facing QB1 to QB4. This brings in Matt Cardona, who is his opponent tonight, and doesn't like what Ricky had to say about him, and he'll prove that he is always ready and can beat Ricky Saints on any night. We then go to commercial break. We come back. Nick Aldis is shaking Jacob Fatu's hand. Fatu seems ready to leave in peace. As he's leaving, Fatu runs into Royce Keys, who gives him a pep talk about winning the title. Fatu then leaves, and Keys runs into Solo Sikoa, who says Keys was in the wrong place at the wrong time a few weeks ago when he got attacked. Sikoa says he does need an answer from Keys soon if he wants to join his family. We then get Tiffany Stratton defeating Kiana James via pinfall, following the prettiest moonsault ever to retain her women's United States Championship. We then go to a part of the funeral of the gingerbread man backstage. It's kind of a wake before they have the funeral later on. Sami Zayn comes in and asks Nick Aldis how he is letting this happen. SmackDown airtime used to mean something. Aldis says everyone needs some closure, and Sami Zayn is close to losing his mind when R-Truth comes in. R comes up with a flower for him. R-Truth says he can see the resemblance between Zayn and this gingerbread man who talked about Sammy all the time. And Sammy seems like he's about to lose his absolute mind. We then have Fatal Influence. They get a video kind of showing what they've done so far on the main roster. Rhea Ripley, Charlotte, and Alexa are ready to take out Fatal Influence. But Charlotte and Rhea get into it all over again. Bliss has to calm things down because obviously Charlotte and Rhea want to go after each other. We then have R-Truth. He is sad about the gingerbread man, but Damian Priest is more annoyed at Tala Tonga. R-Truth will be out there with him for his match against Tala tonight, but Priest wants R-Truth to stay in the back because he is suffering from a shoulder injury that he got from last week. And R-Truth seems okay with this and will stay in the back. Tala Tonga then defeats Damian Priest via pinfall, following some chaos outside, leading to Tala getting a choke slam for the win. After the match, they beat him down, but Royce Keys comes out to stare the MFTs off, though nothing really physical happens between them. We then have we recap Danhausen getting beaten down last week by Miz and Kit Wilson. Danhausen is sitting at a table trying to find a partner when Miz and Kit Wilson interrupt. They're not worried about the match because Danhausen doesn't have any friends. Wilson holds up a mirror saying the only person who would team with Danhausen is Danhausen. This actually gives Danhausen an idea, even though he goes the wrong way than he meant to at first. We then have Paul Heyman. He goes into Nick Aldis' office before we go to commercial. We come back and we look at the gingerbread man being at various famous moments over the years. Shows him in the Silver Dome watching Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant, and just shows him in classic WWE moments as well as kind of world moments at certain points. We then have Nick Aldis. He gives Paul Heyman a contract. Gunther comes in and Heyman hands the contract to him, with Aldis welcoming Gunther to the SmackDown roster. They are kind of interrupted by Cody Rhodes coming out to the arena on a screen behind them. And this pisses Gunther off and says this isn't how Aldis should handle business. And Paul Heyman says he'll handle Gunther and to not worry for Nick to not worry about him not coming to SmackDown. Cody then comes out, like we said. He wants to talk about Gunther, but Paul Heyman comes out instead. Heyman has a solution in the form of a contract, but Cody is ready to fight right now. That's not going to work for Heyman, who makes it clear that this is a contract. This contract is the favor he owes Gunther. Heyman says he's a fan of Cody and gets in the ring, saying that the title shot is for Clash in Italy, which is later on this month. He hands Cody the contract. Heyman says his part is done, as Cody has to get Gunther to sign it himself. Cody stops him, though, and asks if he's doing this because he's out of options. Heyman says he's not the one who's out of options, because sooner or later, they all need the wise man. Heyman leaves, and Gunther comes in and jumps Cody, but ends up getting knocked to the floor. Cody rants about how he doesn't sweat Gunther because he's easy to find, but hard to beat. We then get Tama Tonga and Solo Sikoa. They argue about Royce Keys, with Tonga saying he's going to deal with Keys on his own tonight. Sikoa says he won't let Tala Tonga go help him. We'll see if that ends up happening later. He says that Tama needs to handle this on his own. We then get Ricky Saints defeat Matt Cardona via pinfall following a tornado DDT in Rochambeau. Sami Zayn is still at the funeral, ranting about how he's losing everything. And then Johnny Gargano shows up, and he is still laying on the floor in shock from the loss of the gingerbread man. Ray Phoenix then comes in, and Zayn can't believe that he's here and that he's falling for this BS. Kind of goes in on him a little bit. We then have Brie Bella and Paige. They have like a piece of equipment fall behind them uh, as they're walking kind of towards the ring. But we see that Danhausen kind of runs by, and we kind of assume that it has something to do with him. So they don't get crushed or anything like that, but something definitely falls behind them. We get another Blake Monroe vignette saying that she's on her way. So it seemed like the last couple of weeks they've like said she was debuting the next week, but it seemingly just seems that she's going to come at some point. We then have Brie Bella and Paige come out to the ring. Bella talks about how there are a lot of teams coming for the titles, so bring it on. Paige has heard them referred to as a retirement tour, but they have never been better. This brings out Fatal Influence, who says the champs should be worried about them and no one else. They're about to have all the gold, but here are the irresistible forces to say that this isn't NXT anymore to the Fatal Influence girls. We then get a Trick Williams chant, or a Whoop That Trick chant, with Lash Legend kind of laughing it off. Obviously, they're dating in real life. The forces then lay out the champs while Fatal Influence just kind of stares on and they don't really do anything because they have a match next. Rhea Ripley then comes out, who kind of stares at Lash Legend on her way to the ring. So we'll see a 6-woman tag coming up after we see some more Gingerbread Man moments at that he was kind of at, quote unquote, previously. We then get Fatal Influence. They defeat Rhea, Charlotte, and Miss Bliss when Jade Cargill actually returns and attacks Rhea, she attacks Rhea, providing enough of a distraction for JC Jane to hit rolling encore on Bliss. After the match, Cargill glares Fatal Influence away. Cargill then goes after Bliss, but Charlotte gets back in, only to be beaten down by Michin and B-Fab. Ripley then tries to make the save, but she also gets beat down as well. Royce Keys is on his way to the ring, but runs into the Usos. They talk about their history together and warn him to stay away from the MFTs or risk catching the eyes of Roman Reigns. We get more Gingerbread Man at classic moments, so just really keeping that in your mind throughout the night, really making it apparent and all that stuff. We then have Royce Keys defeat Tama Tonga via pinfall, following the USB. They are calling his spine buster the ultimate spine buster, so it's USB for short. So he wins the match with that. Danhausen is in a laboratory where he has some chemicals, a microwave, and a quote-unquote cloning machine behind him. So he's going to try to clone himself because when Kit said that earlier, it made him think that the best tag team partner for himself is himself. We then have Shinsuke Nakamura. He comes up to Tama Tonga and asks if he's still an MFT. Tama Tonga then comes in to warn Nakamura about talking to his brother. So obviously Tama's continuing to be kind of pulled in multiple directions. So we'll see where he ends up going from here. Trick Williams then runs into Nick Aldis, who is letting the funeral have the rest of the broadcast out in the ring. It is time for the funeral with the casket. The choir is in the ring with Trick Williams. He comes to join them, pours out a drink for the Gingerbread Man, and hopes he can get through this. He then sings a song with the choir about how the Gingerbread Man was destroyed and asking if someone could tell him why. We then get a package of the life of the Gingerbread Man, including him singing with the University of North Carolina, or signing with the University of South Carolina to play football, climbing a mountain, going to various national landmarks with Trick and Lil Yachty, and participating in a dunk contest. Sami Zayn comes out to say this is ridiculous and ask if he's losing his mind for this to go on so long. Closing SmackDown used to mean something, and he asked why Trick spent this much money on one idea. Sammy gets in the ring to yell at Trick about how he's been doing this for 20 years and isn't leaving, and this isn't going to make him leave the business or anything like that. Sammy then decks Trick and shouts about how the title is his life and he needs it back. The Gingerbread Man then sits up, gets out of the casket, and it ends up being Lil Yachty, who has a candy cane kendo stick, and he is able to beat Sami Zayn down with it for a little bit, and then Trick hits a trick shot to leave Sammy laying to end the show. So, ridiculous, of course, but I feel like Trick's good enough to make this somewhat entertaining. And, Sammy plays the manic kind of psychopath pretty good way. So I think it was a pretty well done segment. But as far as best match for SmackDown, I would go with the 6-woman tag between Fatal Influence and Rhea, Alexa, and Charlotte. So that's what I would go with. We'll then go to the Fairway to Hell show. Honestly, Backlash happened before that show, but it's just easier to end with the pay-per-view, so I'm going to do Fairway to Hell first. We actually open with a national championship match. Mark Davis actually defeats Jack Perry to become the new national champion. Ricochet comes out and hits Jack Perry from behind with the golf club, and this allows Davis to hit his pile driver and, like I said, become the new national champion. So Jack Perry kind of loses the belt out of nowhere. I think it's a means to an end. I think Jack probably gets it back before too long, but we'll see. Nick Wayne then announces that he will be in the Best of the Super Juniors in New Japan. He did this last year, and he will do it this year for the second year in a row. We then have Jack Perry. He is on the phone after his loss and wants to get his hands on Ricochet. He says, like, maybe Stadium Stampede, and he even maybe promises that the Elite will be with him. So we'll see if it just is just him and Omega, him and the Bucks and Omega. We'll see. Don Callis is then thrilled, of course, with the family, and obviously thrilled that his boy won the national title. And he says they are in for Stadium Stampede. So the Demand and the Don Callis family will be together. We then get the Divine Dominion. They defeat Ruthie Slay and Rachel Lay when they hit a double choke slam on Lay for the win to retain the titles. Or I don't even know if the titles are on the line, but they win the match with that. We then look at the women's title picture in recent weeks, with the result being that Tekla will have to defend her title against Sheeta, Statlander, and Hayter at Double or Nothing. So we're going to get a four-way. The Owen Hart tournament brackets will be announced on Dynamite. So we'll see what that comes of that on Dynamite. We then get Don Callis saying that the winner of tonight's world title match will actually face Takeshita on Dynamite this week. Obviously, Okada had made the challenge earlier in the week, but Callis says Okada had to go back to Japan to handle some personal business. Takeshita comes in to say that he will do what Okada wouldn't have been able to do, and that is win the world title. We then have Mike Bailey win a squash match against Kieran Gray via pinfall following the Ultimate Weapon. After the match, Kevin Knight gets in to say that he and Mike Bailey should go to the top of the company together. And then we get our main event, which was an absolutely insane match where Darby takes some absolutely insane bumps. Definitely check it out. Match of the night. But Darby Allin beats Pac via pinfall following a low blow, a belt shot, and a coffin drop. Obviously, some people try to get involved. Pac tries to use the chair. That's what kind of distracts the ref, and Darby kind of uses that to his advantage and retains the world title. So, like I said, definitely the best match of the night. Darby takes a sick bump off of like a balcony through a whole stack of tables. He doesn't land all that well. He took a couple other brutal spots in the match, but I would say check that one out if you haven't already. We'll then go to Backlash to end the week. We open with Braun Breaker defeating Seth Rollins via pinfall after he catches him coming off the top rope with a spear, and then he follows it with another super spear to get the win. Trick Williams then defeats Sami Zayn via pinfall when he dodges a haluva kick and ends up nailing him with a trick shot to retain his U.S. title. We then have Danhausen and his mystery partner, Minniehausen, played by Masquerita Sagrada, defeats the Miz and Kit Wilson when a gaggle of other Minniehausens come out of the cloning machine and attack Kit Wilson. This distracts the Miz long enough for Danhausen to hit a pump kick, and that gets Danhausen and Minniehausen the win. We then have Io Sky. She defeats Asuka via pinfall following the over the moonsault. After the match, Asuka is visibly in tears. They hug and show respect to each other, kind of bow to each other, and seem like they're back to being buddies. This kind of felt like maybe Asuka saying goodbye. Maybe not permanently, but at least for a while. Seems like maybe she's somewhat semi-retired. I've heard that on Twitter and the internet and stuff, that she might go into like a semi-retirement. I don't know if that means that she's going to be like part-time, or if that means that she's like leaving WWE to go back to Japan and maybe wrestle some dream matches over there or something like that. But it really felt like Asuka was trying to like kind of announce to the fans that she was. I mean, she didn't actually say anything, but it seemed like she was very emotional about the whole situation. Um, I mean, she's accomplished as much as she probably can at this point. She won the first Royal Rumble. She's been champion multiple times. She's been tag champion multiple times. She's obviously up there in age. She kind of came to WWE when she was a little bit older, so I wouldn't blame her at all for coasting into the sunset. But she's one of the greatest women's stars that there's ever been. This was a fantastic match. Ends up being my match of the night because I really thought they went all out. Didn't hold anything back. They delivered some awesome strikes and some good high flying stuff throughout. I haven't said it yet, but this card was really awesome. Every match pretty much delivered. So, but this one was really awesome. Seems like maybe a retirement somewhat for Asuka, but we'll see if she hangs around WWE or if she goes back to Japan. She might have been one of the people that was asked to take a pay cut, and she was like, "Let me finish out my storyline with EO, and then I'll go, and y'all don't have to pay me anymore." So we'll see. Haven't heard anything else other than maybe it being a semi-retirement, but nobody really knows what that means yet. So we'll go from there. We have John Cena. He has the big announcement that he has to make. He's pretty thrilled to be in Tampa. He says it's fun to be able to be in the ring without having to get in and fight. The fans chant more match, of course. Cena says he was expecting that, says he's done. Talks about how the last night of his career, how he wanted it to be an opportunity for some people. That night we saw Sol Ruka, Javon Evans, and Opa Femi. He even pauses for them to do an Opa chant. He talks about how NXT was featured on his last show a lot. Cena hopes that Opa Femi is listening because that's what it's all about. It worked so well that we can do it again, and we're going to do it in something called the John Cena Classic, the best of today versus the best of tomorrow, in a one-night event for a brand new championship. Cena has said before that the biggest stars of the WWE universe, and for the first time in history, the fans' voices will be heard louder than ever before. The fans will vote to crown the first champion of the John Cena Classic, and every participant is qualified to be the champion. Just because you don't win your match, you can still win the fans' vote and win the competition. Cena thanks the fans of Tampa one more time for giving this a shot, and it's time for the main event. Pretty interesting concept. Obviously, people from NXT facing people from the main roster. The fan vote thing is kind of goofy, but we'll see how it goes. It could be a disaster. Obviously, with most things in WWE, I think they'll somewhat rig it in the way that they kind of want it to go. If, it's like, somebody gets squashed like 3 matches in a row and they just decide that they want him to be the champion or whatever. So we'll see how it goes. I think NXT needs to kind of build back up before we do anything like this. So I don't think they announced when it was. So hopefully it'll be kind of towards the end of the year. So NXT can kind of rebuild themselves because they got pretty gutted by the call-ups for this WrestleMania time period. So we'll see when this happens and how much of a success it is or not. So, I mean, he is correct that obviously that show was big for Sol, Javon, and Oba back in December of last year. So maybe it can be that way again. We then go to our main event. Roman Reigns defeats Jacob Fatu via pinfall after Roman runs him into an exposed turnbuckle and then follows it with a spear to retain his World Heavyweight title. After the match, Jacob Fatu lays Roman Reigns out again and gets another Tongan death grip. Agents kind of try to come down and pull him off. He takes out a few of them. One of them is sent outside, and Fatu grips Reigns again. Reigns starts foaming at the mouth. Fatu then comes back in and does it again, proposing with the World Heavyweight title. to end the show. So, like I said, an awesome show top to bottom. That match was really good. The other possible match of the night, candidly, that I could go with was the opener, Braun versus Seth. Thought it was really good, but there was just a bit of emotion that went with Io versus Asuka that I think won me over a little bit more. So I think that deserves matchup. But definitely check out Backlash. I thought it was a great show top to bottom. It was definitely worth a look if you haven't watched it already. So thank you for joining me as always, and we will see you next week.